Hello there, I'm Jack, and I welcome you to Phantom Chamber, a safe space of dread and distress. Feel free to stick around. The Exorcist is a classic 1973 horror film directed by William Friedkin. The film, which tells the story of a young girl who is possessed by a demonic force, is one of the highest-grossing horror films of all time, and critics praised it as a truly terrifying film experience. But many people don't realize that the popular horror film was actually inspired by a true story. Just in time for Halloween, here's the real story behind one of the scariest movies ever made. In the late 1940s, a 13-year-old boy, commonly known by the alias Rolando, was mourning the death of his aunt. The aunt had taught him about spiritualism. Roland's family notes that strange things start happening in their house shortly after the death of this beloved family member. In January 1949, the family reported hearing strange dripping noises and scratching sounds in the house. At first, Roland's mother believed the noises were connected to the dead aunt, so the family started trying to reach out to the spirits they believed to be in the house, hoping they could reason with them and ask to be left alone. However, this only made things worse. Roland claimed he could hear someone walking in his room at night when he was trying to sleep, and there were scratch marks found on his mattress in the morning. Eventually, scratch marks began also appearing on his body. Not knowing what else they could do, the family called the local minister, and after observing the boy overnight at the church, the minister suggested they reach out to Jesuits. The family converted to Catholicism and tried to have Roland baptized, but the young boy responded to their baptism attempts with unbridled rage. At one point, Roland was admitted to a hospital where a psychiatrist attempted to treat him, but was ultimately unsuccessful. From there, the family thought moving Roland to a different house might make the spirits leave them alone, but the strange events continued. The family was out of options, and so they called upon priests to perform an exorcism. Father Raymond J. was one of the priests who was called in for the exorcism. Bishop later wrote about his experiences. Another priest who came to assist the family was Father William S. Bowdern. At one point, Bowdern attempted to protect Roland through blessings and by putting a crucifix under the young boy's pillow. After leaving Roland to rest, the family returned to find furniture flipped over, and the crucifix moved the edge of the bed. Roland's mattress was shaking uncontrollably. Priests performed multiple exorcisms on young Rolando. One was performed at Georgetown University Hospital, a Jesuit institution. Another took place at the Alexian Brothers Hospital in Missouri. While the exorcisms were performed, young Roland vomited, urinated, spit, and spoke in Latin. Roland also took on a deep, adult-sounding voice that was unfamiliar. The final exorcism was conducted with the help of priests Walter Halloran and William Van Roo. At some point during the exorcism ritual, Halloran's nose was broken. The ritual was very excruciating. However, Roland lived. Annalise Michel was born into a devout Catholic family in 1952. She had an older sister, who her mother had with another man out of wedlock, and the girl died at 8 after an operation went wrong. Stricken with guilt, Annalise felt that it was her sworn duty to atone for her sister and her mother's sins. The death of her sister may have caused Annalise a great deal of mental trauma from a very young age, leading to her later mental disturbances. At 16, Annalise was diagnosed with grand mal seizures. Often a patient that meets the medical criteria for grand mal seizures completely loses consciousness, experiences violent muscle contractions, may notice an odd taste or smell, and let out blood-curdling screams. Annalise began seeking treatment for her seizures and was placed on the drug Dilantin. Annalise found little relief from the drug and began reporting that she saw devil faces while praying. Doctors then prescribed her another drug used to treat the symptoms of psychosis and schizophrenia. She fell into an even deeper depression and continued to see visions, along with hearing voices telling her that she was damned and that she would rot in hell. Becoming jaded with the treatment she was receiving from psychiatrists, and her devout religious background led to Annalise's conclusion that she had been possessed by demons. Annalise's condition began to worsen. She often had violent outbursts, injured herself, ate insects, and even drank her own urine. Annalise and her family petitioned the Catholic Church several times to perform the rites of exorcism on her and were denied. Ironically, in 1973, when Annalise began claiming that she was possessed, the film The Exorcist was released. It shouldn't be seen as mere coincidence that some of Annalise's behaviors coincided with those displayed by Regan's character in the film. Priest agreed to meet with Michelle's family and determined that Annalise didn't look like an epileptic, claiming that they never saw her experience a seizure. However, epilepsy is a complicated disorder, and each person is different. It is possible that her seizures temporarily subsided or was experiencing less severe forms of seizures, which may only be marked by a bad headache or shaking hands, and did not completely lose consciousness or violent muscle contractions, as she had displayed with her more severe symptoms. It should also be noted that if Annalise was still taking medication for her disorder at this time, then it is possible that the medication was suppressing many of her symptoms. Once the two priests who met with the family were granted permission to perform the exorcism sessions, Annalise completely stopped all medical treatment and relied only on religious healing. It is ill-advised for anyone undergoing psychiatric treatment for epilepsy or psychological disturbances, respectively, to quit taking their medications, failure to take certain prescription medications, or to consult with a doctor before completely suspending the use of prescribed medications can cause symptoms of many neurological or psychological disorders to come back with a vengeance. The priests performed 67 ritual exorcisms over Annalise for a period of 10 months. But her condition only worsened. The priests claimed that Annalise was possessed by 6 demonic entities. Some of those entities named by Annalise included Nero, Judas, Cain, and Lucifer. Near the end, Annalise refused to eat. She believed that fasting would help rid her body of the demonic influences. Sadly, Annalise died on July 1st, 1976. Due to malnutrition and dehydration at her time of death. She only weighed 68 pounds. By the time of her death, Annalise proclaimed that she wanted to atone for the sins of wayward youth and refused to eat. Her knees were found to have been broken, and she had also been suffering from pneumonia. Some people believe that Annalise died a martyr, and that she had been chosen by God to atone for the sins of the youth. Many still flock to her grave and pray for salvation. Joseph and Anna Michel, Father Renz, and Pastor Alt were found guilty of negligent homicide. The sentence was actually heavier than what the prosecution originally asked for. All 4 of them were sentenced to 6 months in jail, 3 years of probation, and a fine. Despite the fact that Annalise's possession was deemed as a misdiagnosis of mental illness, Annalise's grave became a pilgrimage site, and her horrific story inspired various pieces in popular culture. Most notably, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Although many religious people, especially in Germany, are inspired by her and her death as atonement, make no mistake, Anneliese's story is tragic and grim. It's a story about everyone around her, failing her.
Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. Father, into your hands, why